taken a 0-0. I know you love a clean sheet, Nigel, but a 3-0's a lot more fun, isn't it?
Yeah, I think everyone apart from Lucas Perry would have preferred a 3-0 draw rather than a 0-0 draw. But no, I mean, they showed which, we know they've got their frailties and they've shown them again, this evening. But, at 2-0, you think the game's done. Great commitment, great desire from the players to come back from there and, to then go 3-2 down to be able to do it again. Yeah, fair play.
That result, that second half performance and that equaliser so late on will feel equally as, if not more important than actually winning against Chelsea the other night, because of the way that the team came back from being 2-0 down, dead and buried, get back into the game, all of a sudden it's 3-2. So that sort of positivity, I think it outweighs the Chelsea game the other night, to be fair.
In terms of the home form as well, that's now 12 of the 15 points Leeds have got this season have come here at Ellen Road. And given there'd been a couple of defeats in that run in the build-up to the Chelsea game, just to also show the rest of the league, you're not going to come here and take points easily off Leeds United is an important message to send down.
Yeah, it's incredible. 6 goals, we've scored in 2 games against Chelsea and Liverpool will really build confidence. But, fair play to Daniel, his substitutions, the guys that came off the bench, we sort of said that they'd be, needed, and they certainly played their part.
Yeah, it's a 6 in those 2, adding the ones at City, and that's 8 goals scored again. Listen, I don't know how many people, if you're sweepstaking it, have Leeds down for 8 goals, given the goals they'd scored coming into those games against City, Chelsea and Liverpool, but that's what they've gone and done. They've conceded a few in a couple of games as well, that's worth saying. But in terms of the goal scoring, where Leeds had been, going up maybe 1 a game, suddenly they're scoring goals from all over the place.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? We've shown our capabilities that we can score goals against the 3 of the best teams in the division as well. And it's a huge result today because of the desire, the spirit, the togetherness and the decision-making from Daniel as well, being criticised a lot over the last few weeks about change of system, substitutions. Obviously, at 2-0 down, he goes back to a back 4, which was a right call to do because he had to do something differently. But again, the players responded. If anybody questions this group of players not playing for the manager, then they don't know what they're on about. This group of players want to play for the club, supporters and the manager as well, because of this week's performances have showed that.
Yeah, the nature of going 2-0 down so quickly at the start of the second half. I mean, we were all here. You will have been either listening or watching, whatever you're doing. We're all thinking, guys, start of the second half. Keep it tight. Don't make it. And then all of a sudden, Leeds go 2-0 down so quickly as well that actually you'd think 11 players out there on the pitch, their heads must be down after that. Yet the way that they did respond was quite incredible.
Yeah, I would imagine Arne Slot will be absolutely devastated because it was one challenge, wasn't it, that brought us back into the game. It was a challenge he probably didn't have to make, sliding in the way he did. He caught Willie, slightly soft penalty, I think we probably felt here, but happy to have it given for us, and that gave us a way back in. And from there, the boys didn't look back.
Okay, let's just take a look at the start of the second half, which we can do now with a little bit more joy than we would have been able to do had it not ended up the way it went. But really, and Leeds have been guilty of this, Simon, conceding early at the starts, whether it's a first half or a second half. And, it did happen again. Ekitike in with the first of his 2 goals, and defensively, it's not great.
Yeah, look, Joe Rodon's been an exceptional player for the club and he's made mistakes you can count on one hand. So for him to misplace that pass is sort of something that he'll be disappointed with. Everybody will be disappointed, but you can't be too critical of him because he's been exceptional. But what I really liked about him is that he didn't let it affect him for the rest of the game. He didn't sort of go and sort of try and put right what went wrong by doing something stupid. Of course, every player can make mistakes. A misplaced pass, unfortunately, it just goes straight through to their centre forward who goes through, and to be fair, it's a good finish. And I suppose that's what you get when you're paying, 80 million for 80,000. That's probably what half a day's work or something. But 80 million, yeah, it's just a bad error. Look, and the good thing that I saw from that as well was that Bogle came across straight away, patted him on the back, says, look, don't worry about it, let's get on to the next situation. And that's the team spirit they got within the group.
The goal itself, as a defender, if that happens, that's just an awful moment for you individually, isn't it? You can sort of see him disappointed with that moment. But like Simon said, kind of made amends for it later on in the game with his performance. But we're just taking a look at the second goal here as well. And
Yeah,
Nigel.
It came after quite a strong penalty appeal, didn't it? They were coming through and the referee looked as though he was going to give it at 1 second, and then, we've picked the ball up, the ref's told us to play on, and we've kind of, I think the goalie's rolled it out to Gudmundsson, who probably didn't really want it at that moment, and he's tried to knock it down the line. It gets intercepted, and, a good ball in. And I guess there was a little bit of luck in the way that they actually got the ball into the net, but it was really disappointing to go 2-0 down, and you knew it was a long way back from there. But the lads did it.
Two down after 5 minutes. Let's we'll take a look at the other goals in just a moment. But let's just get some reaction from the tunnel, because Bryn Law and Tony Dorigo, who at one point, I think like the rest of us, kind of 50 minutes gone, 2 down at the start of that second half, thought, oh, this could be a long, another 40 minutes to go. In the end, it was quite the performance. Let's get the thoughts of our commentary team, Bryn and Tony, down at pitchside.
Cheers, Rich. Wow. Thoughts, Tony? Where does one start with that?
I'm not quite sure. I'm just trying to come down off the ceiling. It was an incredible game of football. Great advert for the Premier League, but more importantly, great advert for our side and the spirit that they showed. To be 2-0 down, against the champions, to come back and then play like they did was just wonderful. So spirited, they showed plenty of determination, but also, a lot of skill, because we had to suffer a lot of times without the ball. Just our formation, sometimes we have advantages with it, but as we saw against a good side like Liverpool, it has some disadvantages. So when we changed it, everything changed, and suddenly you get that one goal, and this place, it just took off, didn't it? And from there, you could see the players, you could see the Liverpool players thinking, whoa, this is a bit hot. Suddenly it's 2-2, and then we just give another sloppy goal away, and then to come back again, it had everything, it really did.
It was a bit like when the board went up with a 9 on, the way that we probably felt at Manchester City when the board went up with 10 on, because you go, well, the home supporters go, oh, hold on a second, this game's still on here. There's still something to do. And that's what happened. There was momentum through that extra time period.
It's amazing the mental side of the game, even when you just get one goal back, how the whole mood changes. And it's changed from that second half at Man City. It really was incredible since then. We didn't get anything from that. We took it into Chelsea, played incredibly well, and here again, not as good in the first half. I thought we started very well, but probably for 20-25 minutes Liverpool worked it out, got on top, got good possession, and we found it a lot more difficult. But then suddenly the change in the second half after, say, those couple of goals against was incredible.
And then this place does its bit as well, doesn't it? We've been on that gantry there where you and I can hardly hear each other talk. It's just a wall of noise. That's the great bit.
Yeah, and I think the fans should take a huge amount of pride in that, along with the players, because it's a give and take situation. The players have to show the fans something, and the fans want to get behind something that they see. Well, both sides did it. It really was. But the difference certainly is the 12th man. I played in front of this lot. I know the difference it can make. I know how it can make you feel. And you could see all the boys out there, 2-0 down. They're a bit disappointed, but once they got that goal back, that was it. We took off.
We talked in commentary about the number of times this season that Leeds have put themselves in a positive position to take something, and then it's just slipped away. Yeah. So they've flipped the dial a little bit on that one tonight. Could that be significant going forward?
I think what's more significant is if we stop making silly mistakes and we stop switching off. And there's vital moments, or obviously start of the game, start of the second halves, when we've scored or conceded, allowing another goal to go in. It's those sort of things, and it's happened a little too often. So I think that real concentration levels at certain times, you've got to be at it all the time. You get punished. The Premier League is difficult. Championship, get away with stuff. Premier League, you just don't. And we saw that. Rodon passed just a bit astray. It's in the back of the net. It's a tough thing, but we have to be better at that.
Okay.
I'm tired, Bryn.
I'm very tired, but we've got some more interviews to do. Hopefully very shortly we'll have, I don't know, a player, the manager, whatever. Just stick around. It's good, isn't it?
When we were talking about players managing minutes, I wasn't talking about ex-players being tired at the end of the 3 games in a week, but Tony's feeling the pace here. We're all feeling it a little bit. Just going back to where we were talking about conceding those 2 early goals, you both said at that point, Daniel's going to change something here. He's going to have to change something here. How much credit does he get, as we've seen over the last week or so, for making those changes and making those changes with actual impact and effect.
Yeah, look, 100%. Look, Daniel's an experienced manager. He knows what he's doing. They've been criticised at times for not doing certain things, but in this last week or so, he certainly deserves a huge amount of credit for changing the system, keeping with the system of 3-5-2, then all of a sudden you're 2-0 down to then sort of having the guts to go back to 4-2-3-1 because it was a right decision. Sort of I said in here that we need to do this to get people further forward, just a freshness about the team. And also them players, when they come on the pitch, they've got to make sure they make an impact on the game. And all three of them certainly did. Tanaka, Nonto did, and Aronson as well. They were lively, they're getting on the ball, they're asking questions. They're Liverpool's back four. And yeah, another tick against Daniel Farke's name of being a decent coach.
Okay, Willie Nonto, you mentioned him coming on and having a real impact, winning the penalty for Leeds United. We said it was... It's one of those that if it's given against you, maybe you're not that happy, but there's contact in the box, the ball's still in play at that point. One game, it's a penalty.
Yeah, and that's why it's a silly challenge, for the centre-half Konate to go in and do it. Willie's asked the question of him, and he slid in, and Willie's felt the touch, and, the contact was made, and you go down. We'd be really disappointed if we were conceding that, I think, because I don't know if Willie was actually going to be able to get the cross in at all, himself. But, it came from having players further up the pitch, like you said, from those substitutions. So the manager will probably be giving himself a little pat on the back, and he deserves that today.
If you're Andy Slaughter and you see your defender making a challenge like this, you going absolutely ballistic with him. He doesn't need to make the challenge. He just lets Willie Nonto run the ball out. It's a goal kick and it's 2-0 and you crack on. He's given an opportunity for Willie Nonto to feel the contact and go down. And of course, it's a soft one. And if it's at the other end, we're probably moaning about it. But he has caught him. He's going nowhere. That is a ridiculous challenge from somebody who thinks he's going to be playing for Real Madrid next year.
Little dig. We saw a similar one, didn't we, for the Leeds penalty at Man City. Guardiola just goes in with a ridiculous challenge. Sometimes you do think, what's going through the mind here when a player's going nowhere, and it's a crazy challenge. But Leeds get the penalty, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin's the one to step up. 3 goals in 3 now for him. In terms of this penalty, from a goalkeeper's standpoint, you're facing a penalty like that, Nigel?
Yeah, it was pace. He was just done for pace, wasn't he? He's come up and given it a good wallop, really, and that's what's beat him. Because I think you said actually at the time it was a nice height for a keeper, but it's just the pace that he's got on it has beaten Alisson on that occasion.
He's been critical of goalkeepers all day, and he thinks a keeper should save that. He's on your case as goalkeepers, isn't he?
Listen, I know we're all happy about the result here today, but I'm not going to be ganged up on. All right, I'm not going to stand for it. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, like I say, 3-3. Lucas Nemecha was 3-3 coming into the game against Chelsea when he played. Suddenly, strikers getting on scoring streaks, confidence. Simon is, from a manager's point of view, thinking great, because now you've got players going out there thinking, I'm going to score in this game.
Look, even midfield players, Tanaka's got 2 in 2 as well, and that'll do his confidence the world of good as well. So I think you mentioned it earlier, Nigel, that we've got 8 goals in a week against Man City, Chelsea and Liverpool. It's like, that can give everybody a huge boost, not just the playing staff, but all the supporters that are in here, and then go to Brentford next weekend, which... hopefully it's not after the Lord's Mayor show where we've had a really fantastic week, because it will be a difficult game. But for people to be scoring and creating chances, and the adversity that we've come back from, it speaks volumes from a group of individuals, and the confidence can keep growing and growing.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I think, is heading as we speak, just taking a look over towards our commentary team. Yeah, let's do it. Let's hear from Bryn and Tony chatting to the goal scorer, one of 3 today, Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Cheers, guys. Okay, Dom, where do we start with that one? What a night.
What a night, what a night. And just when you think, Wednesday night was probably my favourite night at Ellen Road, I think this is well up there as well. I think in the context of how we got ourselves back in the game, and then just feeling the way that the fans flipped, and it was a special night.
I've never seen a home draw celebrated in quite the manner this one was this evening. It was a bit different, wasn't it?
It was a bit different, and it's kind of like, it's obviously 2-0 down and then 3-2 down, and then to come away with a point so late on, we have to be proud of ourselves in the way we kind of stuck in the game, and I think in previous games in the season we've let games slip, we've let teams back in and in crucial moments, and I kept saying, you know, you've got to turn them nearlies into your favour, and tonight we did that.
I think it's incredible that we came back as we did after a couple of mistakes here and there, but you gave something to the crowd, but there's no doubt the crowd has given a lot to you guys as well. Yeah,
it was a special atmosphere. It was loud, and you could feel the shift, and I think in moments like that you need that, and it really does change the dynamic of the game, and I think it's a give and take, isn't it? You know, we give a bit, the crowd give a bit, and we're all working simultaneously to kind of, you know, get a point or win the game.
Mm-hmm.
Across the course of a week that started with Manchester City away, then went through Chelsea and then ends up with Liverpool, it's been a good week, hasn't it?
It has. I think 7 days ago we were looking at a very, very difficult week against some tough opposition, and we knew what we were up against, and I think we set the tone in the second half of the Man City game, and that gives us a lot of confidence to know that we can compete against the very best, and then just continued that into midweek. And I said at the start of the week it was going to be a pivotal week for us, I think mentally, because it's worked in the way in which I hoped it would, in which it's kind of put some question marks to bed, and we've answered a lot of questions this week against tough opposition, so we have to be happy with that.
Goals going in now as well, Dom?
Yeah, it's always a good feeling. Always a good feeling.
Those strikers, I tell you. Keep it up, mate. Keep it up.
Very
Brilliant.
nice.
Well played. Great.
Good stuff.
Cheers, fellas.
Thank you.
Cheers, Dom.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
mate.
So you got a lot of full-time smiles. We're liking this, aren't we? It's great. We were just talking about Dominic Calvert-Lewin's goal, so it was really perfect timing to hear from him there. But putting a few questions to bed, he said, sometimes as a squad, as a team, as a management structure, do you feel, you know, people are, maybe need some questions answering, and they can go out and do that? It's a good feeling.
When you play for Leeds United or you manage Leeds United, you are under the scrutiny of not just 36,000, 37,000 here, but globally as well. There's people always looking to find a way of praising you, criticising you as well. And I was at Man City last week, and after the first minute, I'm thinking, wow, this could be a long week. But they've showed the desire, the commitment. There's a togetherness about them. I think the manager deserves a huge amount of credit for what he's done, and supporters as well. It's been an unbelievable week that we've got to try and build off now. With no point in getting the results that we've had this week if we don't try and get something in the next Brentford, Palace, and then whoever in after that.
Don't worry about it.
We'll just game by game approach. Yeah. But I think the whole philosophy and the confidence levels and the mental toughness that this group have showed in this last week can speak volumes for them.
The Brentford game is going to be pivotal though, because they're going to go down there against a team that now have lost 2 or 3 themselves, and they're going to be like we were at the start, when we were playing Chelsea. They're going to come out with that sort of performance. We have to stand up to that now. That'll be a tough fixture, and the lads are going to have to make sure that they follow through on that fixture as well.
Well, let's take a look at the equaliser the first equaliser for Leeds United, and Anton Stack with a great finish. And Leeds did to Liverpool what Liverpool had done to Leeds. They scored 2 quick goals, and again we saw impact from the substitutions here.
Yeah, look, we picked up, and to be fair, it's a good goal because we've got plenty of passing and moving around the 18-yard box, and then Stack finds himself in, too much space if you're a Liverpool defender or the Liverpool manager, but composure, opens his body up and hits it with great pace. Alisson gets nowhere near it, and all of a sudden it's now game on, 2-2. This place erupted. We got the South Stand below us, and everybody below us was out the seats cheering on, and the whole place was just buzzing and trying to get that winner. I think it's a great bit of play, being people affecting the game from coming on, Willie Gnonto to Aronson as well. But Stack gets in a really good position. But when you get these positions, sometimes you've got to make sure you have the composure and you hit the target, and he certainly did that. He gave the goalkeeper no chance whatsoever.
Brendan Aronson heavily involved in that goal as well. There was a bit of a zip to the play once Daniel Farke maybe released the shackles because he had to, because they were 2-0 down, and we saw some of the football that Leeds have actually played at points this season where they've moved the ball quickly and they've created opportunities.
Yeah, the substitutes have come on and said, we want a bit of this now. The starting lineup have done really well in the last game, and we're doing okay up until half-time in this game. Obviously, we fell behind, and he's unloaded the bench, and those guys have stepped up, and giving him a little headache going forward for the next game.
And the thing about it is when you're making substitutions, you're telling these players to make an impact, and they have to take that on themselves to go and do that, because how are you going to play yourself back into a starting 11 by sulking, not affecting the game? All of a sudden, the lads that have came on the pitch have now gone into Daniel's head and gone, well, I can trust you. I know when I'm going to bring you on or going to start you, that I can trust you to do a job that I'm asking you to do. And you make so many decisions as a coach that sometimes they backfire on you, sometimes they work for you. Today, it's certainly ones that work for us.
Lucas Perry had a few moments today, including a fantastic save. In fact, Nigel, we have the perfect person in the studio with us to talk us through this. When we take a look at Lucas Perry, the header from Virgil van Dijk, which, you know, at one point you thought, oh, is this going to sneak in? But it's a cracking save.
Yeah, I mean, he made two really good saves, didn't he, in the second half here? One to his left, one to his right. So, you know, he's obviously showing he's strong both sides, and they were vital. You know, if he doesn't make those saves, you're not going to get a point out of this game. It would have been a loss. So, you know, he can hold his head up and sort of say, okay, I've conceded 3, but I've still, you know, made a couple of really important saves in this second half that have that kept the team in it and enabled that comeback.
He seems to be one of them goalkeepers, doesn't he? That he seems to be able to have a mistake in him or be criticised for the odd goal or two, but also he can suddenly pull a couple of worldy saves out and get you out of trouble, because if he doesn't make one of them saves, we probably don't get anything out of the game. You're a better judge than I am.
That looks to be his strength. You know, when he's a big guy, he's going to cover a lot of the goals. So when he's asked to go full length, he's going to make good saves. You know, that's a given really with the size and his agility that he's got there. So, you know, he's made those saves. The rest of it, he's just got to become more. You know, he's settling in. It is a new club. You know, it's a new country. Everything he's got to settle in and just, you know, work his way through and get used to playing this Premier League football.
And such is the life of a goalkeeper. That 1 minute you're making a great save to the acclaim, and the next minute you're having to pick the ball out the back of the net, which must have been pretty frustrating for him, for any keeper as well. And it's Soberslay, and really it's slick movement from Liverpool here and a good finish.
Yeah, look, I think we saw Daniel moaning at some players. I couldn't quite see who he's moaning at. Obviously, Goodmanson's gone across because he's seen like McAllister making a late run into the box. All of a sudden, he makes a fantastic decision to over it, and as Willie Gnonto switched off and not allowed Liverpool player to get into the box. Yeah, I'm not sure if it should be a midfield player staying with the run of the midfield player, and Goodmanson then can stay with his man. It's a disappointing goal, but if you're from Liverpool's perspective, you'll go, good run into the box, nice over from McAllister and a lovely composed finish. And when that went in, you're thinking, oh wow, that's going to take the wind out of our sails and we're going to do well to get something out of the game, but we certainly responded in a positive manner.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, coming back in that fashion once is one thing, but then having that moment so near to the end of the game and still having the tenacity to get yourself back in the game is another. And it did create one of those moments, and look, we have these at Ellen Road every season. An incredible moment with the final goal, and Altanaka, like you say, 2-2. We spoke about him before the game. He scored a beauty of a goal against Chelsea, and he's in the right place at the right time. And actually, this is a really good finish as well, Nigel, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's a set piece again. Beat the first man this time. I think there was a little handball in there, wasn't there? One of their defenders, it landed on his arm and actually cushioned it a little bit, but you know, great technique, got over the ball. That was easy to have just leant back and skied that over the bar, but his technique was spot on, and you know, that's great commitment from the boys coming back again. It was easy to be really deflated after that third goal went in and not sort of try and come back, but you know, they've done it, and fair play.
Those balls, when they do slightly bounce up like that, especially at such an important moment in the game, you have to be fully concentrating on making the contact on that ball, because if not, you're spooning it over and everyone's going, oh, he's missing absolute sitter.
And more times than not, when I played, I probably did spoon it over the bar a few times, but I think when you look at it as well, he's had good movement as well, and Liverpool will be disappointed because having a white shirt free in the 6-yard box is not great. Look, all he's done is he's tried to keep his head over the ball. He's made decent enough contact. He's volleyed it into the floor, which has probably helped because it's gone over Allinson, hasn't it? Yeah. If he hits it on the full, Allinson probably saves it, but by going down into the floor, goes over, and this place erupted when it hit the back of the net. Look, you see Jordan Bogle, he's running around, and Tanaka 2-2. this place was rocking, wasn't it, that last few minutes?
Yeah, I'm just so pleased for Altanaka because, like I say, his season's been stop-start, hasn't it? And actually feels like maybe he can get himself in a really good run here. Again, Willie Gnonto coming on and affecting change in the game. Brendan Aronson coming on. He'd been taking out the team a little bit, but coming on and impacting. They all had a hand to play in that comeback for Leeds United, and that can only just breed confidence throughout the whole squad.
Absolutely. I mean, after scoring on Wednesday, Tanaka's probably thinking, well, I'm going to be starting the next game. So he'll have had the disappointed of not starting, but he didn't show it. When he came on, he's gone and finished, got his goal, and he's given the manager a few thoughts to have going forward for the Brentford game.
Just very quickly, with Nottingham Forest losing heavily at Everton, that result, that point today, just puts us above them because of the slight goal difference swing. So now that moves us up to 16th. That's one place further up, still the same amount of points. But just psychologically, it's nice to see that points see a bit of movement as well. Sometimes you can get the points, but other teams around you do, and then you don't see the table benefit. But actually, the players will go back in there and look at a table at some point and go, oh, we've gone up a spot.
Yeah, exactly. You might be on the same points as you mentioned there, but you've gone up a place. Psychologically, it looks a lot better, doesn't it? And if we finish in that position where we are now, at the end of the season, everybody will be so happy, won't it? It's what we want to do. Of course, there's a lot of work still to be done with that. But I think also this week has signalled to a lot of teams that have probably looked at our fixtures this week and going, well, Leeds are not going to get anything against City, Chelsea and Liverpool. We can pull away from them if we get our results, as in the other opposition, the other teams in the division. But all of a sudden, we've got our points, the other teams have lost back-to-back games, and that gap has got a little bit closer and closer, and we're looking to move on and catch a few teams above us now.
Psychologically, that'll affect Forest because, they got the new manager in and they got their results on the back of that. But now they've lost a couple, and now we've overtaken them and dragged them right back into it again. It will start affecting them as well.
Yeah, it is getting festive in here. I got slightly sidetracked because Willie Gnonto was just running down the side of the West Stand with 2 Santa hats, and I don't know where he was going with them or who he's taking them. Maybe someone still left there in the crowd, I don't know, but he's definitely in the festive feel after that one. Just very quickly before we wrap up here, and you kind of touched on this a moment ago, Simon, the danger is, we've played all the big boys, now we're going to Brentford, who are in a similar sort of place at the table where we are. That's going to be a really tough game next week, but plenty of recovery time for that. It's a Sunday game as well, just gives that extra little bit of recovery. Plenty of time to, I don't know, from a squad point of view, decompress a little bit after what's been a really big week of football. Yeah,
look, it's been a big week physically, but mentally as well. It's been so good. The highs and the lows have been 2-0 down against City, back to 2-2, winning the other night 3-1, being 2 down today and back to 2-2 and then 3-2. So physically, the players will be drained. Mentally, they'll be exhausted. I'm sure Daniel will give the players a couple of days off, whether it's in tomorrow and then Monday, Tuesday off, and then have a week leading into it. So it's come at the right time with no midweek game, but physically, mentally, I think we've showed as well that the players are physically capable at this level, but also psychologically that they can deal with disappointments to get some out of game when nobody expects us to. But Brentford will be a tough game, but I'm sure the players will be going into that full of confidence, and if they show the same desire, the same hunger, the same spirit, the same quality, why can't we go and get a result there now?
Okay, Simon Grayson, thank you so much for joining us in the studio. Nigel Martin, it's great to have you here as well. The full match replay will be on the app. Just start from around 50 minutes. Probably more fun that way. 3 points midweek against the champions of the world. Point today against the Premier League current champions. It's a 4-point week for Leeds United here at home. And we'll see you next week for the trip to Brentford on Matchday Live. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Red Bull gives you wings.